listening to the Danger Tapes podcast with your host, Devin Ramos.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Danger Tapes podcast. My name is Devin Ramos, and once again, I'm coming to you live from my room. Actually, this isn't live, but it's freezing, and it's actually colder than it was last week when I did the podcast. But yeah, so once again, this is late, and I'm posting this, but I'm trying to be a little bit more relaxed with the way I post these things, and trying to have a little bit more fun doing it, doing it at my own leisure. But I don't know, with last week's episode, I kind of liked the topics that we talked about, but this week I don't have a whole lot other than some stuff that I bought and that I want to review and just kind of talk about. But to get things started, I just received the Earl Sweatshirt album Doris on vinyl from Amazon. Just got done listening to it, and yeah, I when Earl Sweatshirt first came around, I remember the whole Free Earl campaign that Odd Future had kind of started, and I don't know, I hadn't heard his mixtape. I was a pretty big fan of Bastard that Tyler had come out with, but the mixtape from Earl Sweatshirt I hadn't heard. There was a couple tracks, I believe, right? And then he came out with his more official stuff, and Doris had come out. Initially, I didn't like Doris. I thought it was okay. I listened to the first few tracks, I set it aside, and it wasn't something that I wanted to buy because I didn't have Spotify right away. At the time, I should say. I didn't have Spotify at the time. I got Spotify like much later. And so I think it was this year, right, that I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside came out. I Don't Go Outside, I Don't Like Shit, whatever it is. I didn't like that album for sure. And it was only because I don't know, it just wasn't my kind of album. And I think the people that really enjoyed that album really fall in between this sort of spectrum in which they either absolutely don't like shit and don't like going outside, or they actually do like doing shit and do like going outside. I'm not trying to be like funny here, but that album being called that and being so I guess depressing and really nihilistic. That album being that way turned me off from it, because there are times when I just absolutely do not want to do anything. I just don't even want to deal with anything. And there are times when I do, and I do really fall in between that spectrum. And because I can recognize that feeling when I don't want to do anything, and when everything is just kind of just too much, I recognize that feeling, and by me listening to that album, it wasn't going to help any. So that album wasn't for me. I'm sure it was pretty good. I know it got some pretty good reviews on the Needle Drop, and critics were pretty kind to it. But as far as hip-hop goes, this year, there were so many other good albums that had come out. As a matter of fact, I just started listening to again, I should say, Joey Badass's Before the Money, which I'm starting to believe was a slept-on album. Just because of when that album was released, I want to say it was late February, early March, first few days of March this year. And It was getting good reviews. The Needle Drop really liked it. And I'm not that type of person that believes in all of the Needle Drop's reviews. I disagree with him sometimes. But he is the go-to reviewer as far as music goes right now. I think he's a really good... let me say this as a side note. I think Anthony Fantano is really good at reviewing. Sometimes he misses things that I really like, and sometimes he really likes stuff that I don't like at all, such as I don't like shit, I don't go outside. Anyways, back to Joey Badass. That album came out when there was so much good hip-hop coming out. Like, it was just flooded. And it came out right before all these really good albums came out. So before the money was really good, you had To Pimp a Butterfly. You had Action Bronson's album, which was really hyped, but kind of a letdown. It was okay, though. I enjoyed it. And what else came out? I want to say Earl Sweatshirt's album came out that month, too. I know Forest Hills Drive came out from J. Cole. And there's one album I know for a fact I'm forgetting, and that I really enjoyed it. Fuck. Anyways, there was a lot of good hip-hop albums that came out in March. And because of that, Before the Money got slept on. Which is unfortunate, because it's a really good album, and I actually listened to it again last week, and it's solid. It's solid, and I loved it when it came out, and I'm loving it even more now. It's solid. It's as good as any of the other albums, if not better. I mean, To Pimp a Butterfly is pretty goddamn good, but it's a really, really solid album. And that album was just slept on. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because, like I said, it is solid. And speaking of sleeping on albums, an album came out when I was in high school. Now, granted, this was like, let's see, we're going on into 2016. 10 years ago, I was in high school, which was 2006. And this album, I believe, that I'm talking about came out in 2004 because I was a sophomore in high school. And the album I'm talking about is a hip-hop album by a group that most people under the ages of 21 wouldn't even know who they are, or even really appreciate. They may know, but they may not fully appreciate who they were at the height of their power. But the album I'm talking about is Speakerboxxx and The Love Below. Now, last week I was talking about my new headphones, the Philips SHP 9500s. Phenomenal. Still think they're phenomenal headphones. If you're looking for headphones that are really good for listening to music at home, look no further than the Philips SHP 9500s. I'm not getting paid for any of this shit that I say is good. They're really good headphones. But with new headphones, especially headphones that are meant to be listened to with hi-fi music, high fidelity music, you want to get the highest quality music you can. And I'm not talking about streaming from Spotify or Apple Music. The highest fidelity music, I guess you could get it from, what's it called? Tidal? Nobody really fucks with Tidal, though. I mean, come on, let's be honest. It's either Apple Music or Spotify. And even there are a lot more people using Pandora than there are using Tidal. But Tidal does have lossless music, or high quality music, I should say. And audiophiles are really praising Tidal for this. I'm not talking about Tidal. I have a lot of high quality audio stashed onto a hard drive. Among all of that high quality audio, I have Speakerboxxx and The Love Below from Big Boy and Andre 3000, also known as or more famously known as Outkast. Now, when it came out, again, I was in high school, and around this time, let me see if I got this straight. I think I do. There was a lot of really good hip hop coming out at this time too. I think maybe a couple months before this, Kanye West's first album had just come out. I think I have that right. Unless Speaker Box and The Love Below came out before that. Hold on. I gotta look this up. Speaker Box and let me get a sense of time here. All right, so Speaker Box. Let me look this up on my PC here because this is important. This is important to the whole thing I'm about to say. No, I do not want the full download. I already have a full download of it. Anyways, so while I'm searching for this, I have the high quality album. Oh, did it come out? Yeah, I think it did come out before Kanye West's College Dropout. That's crazy. Let's see. College Dropout, February 10th, 2004 for College Dropout. Speaker Box and The Love Below, September 23rd, 2003. Wow. Okay, so as a sense of time, give myself a little bit of context here. I am a sophomore in high school, and this is post 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying, and Speaker Box and Love Below comes out. Gets a lot of hype on MTV. I believe they were talking about this being the last album for Outkast. I want to say. So it's getting a lot of hype on MTV because it wasn't an official Outkast album in the fact that they were both together on all these songs. They were only together on all the songs they were only together on a few songs. Speaker Box, I want to say Andre 3000 maybe made like one appearance on it. And The Love Below, Big Boy made like a couple appearances. Really good music video with Roses, and Paula Abdul was in it and all them. Good music video. So, in high school, because I just didn't have that context of like a good sounding like what sexy should sound like on an album. So I was just like a fat guy like in high school, fat nerd. And to me, again, this was before Kanye. To me, there were two really great solid albums that I had like absolutely loved. Actually, there was like three. I really liked the Eminem Show. Get Rich or Die Trying. I'm gonna get judged like a motherfucker with these choices because I was just barely like getting to know hip hop. And DMX's, and then there was X. So those are the three. And then Speaker Box and The Love Below came out. So I had really liked Speaker Box because to me it sounded more like the hip hop I was already used to. And it wasn't like, it was good, like it was okay, but it wasn't like great. And I remember buying it and remember not really liking The Love Below. And so I'm like, this was an okay purchase. I didn't have a lot of money back then. I used to save all of my lunch money to go buy CDs. This is when Best Buy had a really great music section. And you could spend hours just browsing their music, just their hip hop section, which is all I liked back then. And so I was like, I kind of wasted my money on this. tossed it aside. I really didn't listen to it all that much except for the single on Speaker Box. And then I kind of came to like Roses on The Love Below. So anyways, back to what I was saying about it for now. I'm going through my albums the other day looking for good music that I have the high quality file for. And I found The Love Below. And I go, okay, I've been hearing lately that this album was slept on. And it's actually like solid. Like it's a really great album. So I'm thinking, okay, I know a little bit more about life now and music and all other kinds of things. I have a little bit more context. 27. I don't know everything, but I know a few things. And so I download it to my PC, and it's playing through my headphones and my headphone amplifier, which is really great too. And I gotta say, I slept on it. I really did sleep on it. And I never thought I would actually admit that. Or come to admit it. Because I didn't like it. To me, it was boring. Back then. I'm like, there were just skits. Like, there were just skits about, like, sex, which was cool. Like, you know, it wasn't, like, great. And so I just kind of left it aside and didn't like it. Just never really listened to it again. And again, like that, like a couple months later, Kanye's album came out, and that was, to me, that was a game changer because I didn't know anything about like soul samples or anything. I just thought like, I knew like a few things about samples, but never had I thought like, wow, like this was like hip hop. Like this was like old hip hop. And then so like without Kanye, like this is what people don't understand about Kanye now. Especially if you're a little younger and even a little older, because this is where I really come to appreciate Kanye West. Kanye West did a lot of things that weren't necessarily new in hip hop. He's not the best rapper. He makes good songs though. And outside of his public persona, what he did for music for me back in high school was the fact that I had learned about, oh, like this is what hip hop is. Like you take these old records and you make a beat out of it. And like to me that was completely like a new idea. I never thought of hip hop in that way. I kind of knew there were like vocals that I would hear like snippets of in like Eminem's song, because in Eminem's songs he would sometimes sample, like Eminem was a completely different person back then too. Like unless you're over the age of like 23, you're not going to get it. You're just not. And I don't blame you. So anyways, so what Kanye did, like he opened up this whole like window of like, wow, like, you know, especially with like slow jams and like Through the Wire, like he made it like you would actually have to go and like do your homework to go and like know these songs, especially if you didn't have like exposure to them when you were younger. You know, there's a lot of hipster people out there that'll tell you like, oh, like, why didn't you have exposure to this? I've been listening to that forever. Like, no, like, I just didn't know. I didn't. So when his album came along, The College Dropout, like I like started researching. I started learning about other hip hop too, like Wu-Tang Clan, how much he appreciated Wu-Tang. And I would come to like eventually appreciate him to like the form that I do now. And then like he started dropping like all these like crazy good music videos and then crazy good songs. And then like he used the sample off of Diamonds Are Forever from that James Bond album and from that James Bond movie. I'm just like, man, like, you know, he started teaching people how to like dress better too, like outside of the whole baggy jeans things, which through high school I wore baggy jeans all over it. I couldn't get away from that. But like he taught people about polos and, you know, if you were a younger guy, like that's something to kind of aspire to. It's different. It's a different way of thinking. Not necessarily a new way of thinking, but just a different path. And I think that's what people miss, like, kind of miss with the idea of of who Kanye is. Like I said, I don't think he's the best. I like him a lot. Probably like one of my favorites. Because I buy like the hard copy for everything that he does. But he, like, what he does well. I should say that. Anyways, what do I got here? Not bad. Anyways, where do I go from here? Jeez, that was my music history for the podcast. I guess we could go to Christmas. Started Christmas shopping. And it's really strange how you don't really get into the Christmas spirit until like you really start like getting out into public. Because I think it was the last podcast I think it was the last podcast that I talked about how I wasn't trying to go to any brick and mortar stores or like actual stores. I was trying to do all my shopping online. And I realized when I was doing that, I don't know, like maybe I was just really busy, or maybe it was just because like I was buying things online, but I just wasn't getting into that Christmassy spirit. And my whole house is decorated. My parents did a really fantastic job like decorating outside and decorating the tree, but I don't know, I had a lot of things going on. I had a lot of homework, and I don't know, I just wasn't into it up until like recently, up until I started going to like the mall yesterday, and actually had a little bit of time. And I went to the mall, and it's weird because like I don't think I went to the mall last year. I think I went to maybe Barnes & Noble, but I really didn't go. Like I really tried to avoid it. And I don't know, it's weird. I kind of missed it. I went to the mall, there's a lot of people I didn't want to see. Just these big fat slobs that were just walking around. And yet you kind of miss it. People like at the perfume counter, like trying out perfumes and, trying to buy a gift for their mom or trying to buy a gift for their boyfriend or whoever. Clothes for kids and stuff. Kids lining up by Santa Claus. Kind of miss that. It's nice, When I first started working, I actually worked at a toy store. And it was... maybe that kind of turned me off from it too. And what I do now. But, I mean, it was okay. It was all right. I wore an elf hat. And I was selling toys. Like, I worked at a toy store selling toys. And it was fun. People wanted, like, the hottest toy. And they would offer you money to hold it for them in the back so they could be the first one to get it. And it was... I think that was fun. I think that was like a different experience. My experience into like retail, and how the holidays like actually go. The craziness of it. That was cool. That wasn't that bad. It was a shit place to work though. After that, I mean, there were a couple cool people there, but other than that, the people there were garbage. But anyways, I think I'm going to Best Buy just kind of like regularly, just browsing around, seeing if I can find any like deals on random shit. Buying stuff for other people, being fun. Occasionally buying stuff for myself because why not? I mean, it's not that bad. It's fun. I like it. I think I might make a dessert this week. I'm going to a Christmas party. Actually, Ryan's Christmas party. He was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and Stevie's going to be there. Ryan's going to be there. We're all going to be taking shots. It's going to be fun. Close friends. close friends who are pretty much family at this point. That's going to be fun. That's going to get me in that spirit. I bought a Christmas sweater with reindeer on it. Plan on wearing it. It's going to be, I'm going to unironically wear it too. I think that'll be cool. And I'm going to be making jambalaya, which they haven't tried it yet. It's going to blow people's minds. It gets better every time. It really does. But yeah, I think that's it for the podcast this week. So hopefully you guys got this far. After you heard me pining over Kanye. I will be back next week. I believe next week is Christmas, which will be actually my first podcast for the holiday in like a long time. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. I will talk to you guys next week. Peace.